Last year, at about this time, I spent 3 weeks traveling in New Zealand. My last days there were spent in Christchurch, a city recently devastated by earthquakes. The center of the city was destroyed, utterly leveled. As areas were cleared of debris, the citizens of Christchurch found clever ways to reclaim the space and create community. Rows of shipping containers became a shopping mall. The Anglican Cathedral was rebuilt out of cardboard tubes. Pallets were painted and arranged artistically to create park benches and playscapes. On a cool, sunny morning, I went out in search of coffee. I landed in one of those pallet parks, my flat white in hand, and sat down to enjoy the sunshine. Soon, a young man wandered in with his cup of coffee, and we struck up a conversation. He had just returned from 3 years of traveling abroad, something young New Zealanders are almost expected to do before they settle down. The sun was hot, so soon we found ourselves shedding layers of polar fleece. The young man removed his jacket to reveal arms covered with tattoos of birds. "Wow, nice ink," I said. "Tell me about the birds." A big smile spread across his face as he told me he was an ornithologist. He started telling me about the birds on his arms, most of which were native to New Zealand, but others, like the tsutsu bird depicted on a backdrop of Mount Fuji on his shoulder, he had seen in Japan during his travels. Then he enthusiastically whipped off his t-shirt to reveal dozens of more birds. The man was a walking, talking Audubon bird book. He pointed to the kiwi inked over his heart and explained that his PhD was on conservation of kiwi habitat. "Is that your favorite tat?" I asked. "Nope," he said. "This one is." He flipped his right arm over to reveal a small Coptic cross tattooed on the inside of his wrist. "Do you consider yourself a Coptic Christian?" I asked. "No," he replied. "I'm not sure what I am. The cross is a symbol for God that I know, but I can tell you this. God's mark is on everything in this world, on you, on me, even on this, my hometown, which looks so God-forsaken. This reminds me to look for God's mark on everyone and everything." Whose mark is on your life? Whose image do you bear? Were the author of Matthew's Gospel alive today, we might find him writing comedy skits down at Second City. He had a gift for taking tragic circumstances and using irony to create truly comical stories. In today's gospel lesson, Jesus is in Jerusalem, just days away from his crucifixion. The tragic scene is set. Some young Pharisees arrive on the scene with a group of Herodians. Just the sight of these two groups together would have sent ripples of shocked laughter through an audience. Pharisees and Herodians hated each other. Herodians were loyal to Herod Antipas and therefore supporters of the Roman occupation. Pharisees despised the Roman Empire's constant meddling. Yet so desperate were these two groups to undermine and incriminate Jesus, they were willing to join forces. After an overly sufficient amount of cloying flattery, the group asked Jesus a maliciously clever question. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not? Jesus knew he was between a Pharisaical rock and a Herodian hard place. So, as he often did, he responded with a question. But first, he challenged them to show him the coin. with which the tax in question was paid. And they dutifully produced a Roman denarius. Now, at this point, an audience watching this unfold would have gasped and erupted with laughter. Busted. This is truly funny. Because the denarius was marked with the image of the emperor and proclaimed him as divine, merely having the coin in the temple was considered a sin of idolatry. For that reason, there were money changers right outside, caught in the act. I imagine Jesus' antagonist responded rather sheepishly when asked, "Whose head is this, and whose title?" Jesus' admonition to give, therefore, to the emperor the things that are the emperor's and to God the things that are God's has been interpreted in many different ways and often with opposing views. This passage does not solve the question of church and state. Jesus does not tell us what our obligations are to the state. He does, however, set priorities. The coin may bear the image of Caesar or some dead president, but whose image does your life bear? Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, but everything we have, our lives, everything, belong to God. In these words, I hear Jesus asking us, whose image do you bear? God created us in God's likeness and image, and God declared us mav tov, very, very good. Each and every one of us bear the mark of God. Everything, our entire life, is within the context of our relationship with God. As Christians, we believe this knowledge shapes the decisions we make and how we live our lives. We even have a word for this: stewardship. Today is my sister's birthday. Several years ago, when her birthday also fell on a Sunday, I dashed into my office to call her in between services. I believed she would be in church and therefore wouldn't answer her phone, so I could leave a quick birthday message and then call her later in the week when I wasn't so busy. A 1 ringy-dingy, 2 ringy-dingies. There I was, all ready to sing happy birthday into her message, and she answered the phone. Rather chagrined, I had to admit I was not expecting to find her at home, and asked if her boys were sick and if they hadn't gone, and why they hadn't gone to church. She said, "Oh, no, we never go to church in October. It's stewardship season." If you've heard one priest asking for money, you've heard them all. Ouch. My own sister. Yeah. Stewardship is how we give to God the things that are God's. Stewardship is all the ways we celebrate and respond in gratitude to God's mark on our lives. If talking about money and your financial pledge are the most challenging things your church asks of you, we are not asking enough of each other. Can you look at yourself and the woman begging in front of your office and see the mark of God? Does your faith impact how you spend and invest your money? If someone were to follow you for an entire week, how would they know you are a person who values your relationship with God? We are here to do the very hard work of reminding each other to look for God's mark on everyone and everything. This is the challenge of stewardship. This is the very hard work of being a Christian. Whose image do you bear?